What's up, family, and welcome back to another round of My Patriot Report Live. I am Ratwan Hill, the bridge connecting this generation to federal contracting. And next to me, I have the gentleman who is responsible for over $19 billion annually for the service disabled veteran owned small business community, the individual who co-authored the legislation that created the All Small Business Mentor Protege Program, and the president of the Elite SDVOSB Network, Mr. Walter Cotton III. Mr. Cotton, how's it going, man? How's your Friday going?
Friday is progressing. Friday's progressing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Seems like this war in Iran is progressing as well. To
We're
conflict.
at war. Congress authorized a war.
I'm glad you said that because that was something I was going to ask you. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but it was like, are we actually in a war or is this a conflict? So I believe yesterday they voted on the war resolution. Pretty much, that got shot down. So President Trump has the full authority to pretty much do what he wants. But the truth of the matter is that the legislative branch, which Congress falls under, they are responsible for actually declaring war. But it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like a separation between the executive and the legislative branch. Um, does Congress is Congress still in control, or is this we under a different regimen you want to call it?
I've been praying a lot of prayers of serenity lately. And, at the end of the prayer of serenity, you're asking Most High to give you the wisdom to know the difference between those things you can change and those things you cannot change. And right now, Congress at large is out of control, right? The fact that they haven't already reined in some of the actions of this administration is a clear telegraphing sign for me of them being a part of the problem. And so, you reach that unique point in a community, a system, a civilization. I think Andy Grove defined it as a critical inflection point where, you either reinvent the system or you risk obsolescence, right? And I think that we're at that place in our system. And fortunately, our forefathers saw fit to give we the people the power necessary to make a difference. And I'm starting the dialogue that says we, the people, need to come together in a united way, in a unified way, and reshape our government, starting with our local representatives and moving all the way to and through the commander in chief. At this particular point, we've seen some actions that have made us economically more challenged than we were before as a nation. And the thing that concerns me as a patriot is the fact that we've seen some actions that have made us less safe as a nation on a global stage. And then finally, um, the reputation, the good reputation of the brand that is these United States is currently being dragged through the international mud. And therefore, I'm calling on, every true patriot, right? Every red-blooded citizen that loves that beautiful, quiet country on a hill to get involved, right? We all need to do something. I'm driving my effort through the Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network, but we need to start a conversation. We need to start a dialogue because at the end of the day, we have the power as long as the rule of law remains. Let me restate that. We have the power to take action as long as the rule of law remains.
Well, let's
Now,
well let's
it's
talk about
time.
it before you move on because Well, you were talking about the We the People movement. How does that really look? Is it? I know you said you're leading through the SDVOSB network. So is it going through a VSO for veterans? Is it, or for regular civilians, going through an actual structured organization? Is it a combination of signatures? How do we organize this properly to be the most effective and efficient?
Well, I think first you have to be prepared to be the army of one. And so you have to embrace the idea that America is moving in a direction that you're uncomfortable with. Once you do that, right, then you take the responsibility of becoming the leader of the movement and start attracting and connecting with other like-minded people. That's where it starts. I think people are always looking for some kind of organization to join, right? They're looking for some kind of leader to follow, right? Well, in this instance, in this situation, right, you need to be the hero that you're looking for, right? And so I'm not asking you all to get behind me because I'm the great Walter Cotton and I'm going to guide you. I'm telling you what I'm doing. Right. I'm telling you that I'm uncomfortable enough to do something. Right. And everything that I'm doing, I'm not going to telegraph on social media because I don't want to get a stupid human award. But what I will tell you is that we, the people, need to wake up, get out of the muster so we can catch up because we have power. Right? We have the authority to say to the president, you know what? We don't like this bullying approach, right? America is a kinder, gentler nation. Like, listen, like, dude, like, you need to rein it in. Like, we're not uncomfortable with the idea of you normalizing the immigration standards and stuff like that. It's just how you doing it we're uncomfortable with, right? You don't have to be so nasty about it, right? Right. We believe in managing the relations from an economic perspective with, our allies, right? In NATO and foreign countries, right? But just because we have the strongest economic position doesn't mean that we have to be the bully to the smaller countries, right? And so we, the people, have the ability to set the stage of the culture of our politics. And I'm suggesting that we take that responsibility because the world is judging us. The world is judging us, right? So, in yesterday's circumstance, when you were on the streets of France, or walking the Champs-Elysees, and someone said, "Oh, you're American," it had one connotation. Today, it has a different connotation. And we need to change that arc of performance, right? And we have the ability to do so.
Yes, sir. From this situation now, I'm seeing economists and everybody saying that this is going to lead to a World War III. Is is that reaching? Do you see that as reaching, or is it we're just being from the observer standpoint and just watching and letting it play out?
I mean, all possibilities are on the table right now, right? I mean, if you're not paying attention, those are real bullets and bombs that are falling out there, right? Real people's emotions are being shaken up,
Mm-hmm.
and those emotions are going to produce a response, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I lost the perspective on your question. Restate your question because I want to answer that question. Say it
Yes.
again, please.
Oh, everybody's saying it's about to be a World War III. Are they reaching, or are we just sitting back and observing, just letting it play out because we don't really know where it's going to go?
And I think the point that I hopefully was trying to make is the fact that there are a bunch of possibilities that are out there, right? We, again, as human, the people, have the ability to determine that arc of performance as well. And so if we get scared into the idea of war is possible. If we get seduced into the idea of love and peace is possible. So that's another, consideration that we need to make. I heard this story about the young tribal. What do they call the young tribal? The young guys, the not the chiefs, but the young Indians. They call them the
Yeah, I'm not sure.
they call the women the squaws. They call the young tribe the braves. Okay. At any rate, it's a young tribal individual that was going through a rite of passage, and one of the elders told him the story about two wolves, right? That lived within him. One wolf loved everything, and the other wolf hated everything. And at night they would debate which would live. And the young man asked the old brave, which of those two wolves will survive? And the brave told the young man the story, the lesson of wisdom that we all need to learn. And the answer is it's the one you feed. So the idea of whether or not we're going to go into World War III or not, right, all depends on whether we get a critical mass of buy-in to that bullshit, right? Or whether or not we're going to go down the path of peace, right? Whether or not we're going to restore, right, the agency of peace, right? Whether or not we're going to become the kinder, gentler nation, all depends on which wolf we feed.
Yeah. Should small businesses be paying attention to the global conflicts for opportunities, or is that more like a squirrel, and they should be focused on the 1.3 trillion that we know absolutely is right here in front of our face?
Well, I can't speak to small businesses at large, but what I've been beating the drum for the past 2 years, for anyone who would listen, is the idea that America wants its veterans to be rich, dare I say, wealthy. And I've said that if that were so, there would be evidence, and we got evidence all over the place, right? You can't turn without some new positive thing being put in place for veterans. And now here is where the opportunity meets the need. Uh, we currently don't have enough munitions. If you're listening to the popular media, they're saying we're running out of our smart munitions. In addition to that, right, our economy needs to be revitalized, right? We need to reshore manufacturing, right? They're talking about billions of dollars, right? The Secretary of War has $8 billion that he's putting on the street. They just renewed the SBIR program so that we could invest in innovation. And so America needs its veterans. It needs its former servicemen and women to come back into service. They have made the way unbalanced. And when I say it's unbalanced, the veterans have the advantage, right? So this is a season for you to come back into service for your great nation, reshoring those manufacturing assets and those critical elements that we need to make sure that our economy keeps pumping, right? We need you to bring that ingenuity that you learned about something in the supply chain or something in the war making system that increases lethality or increases efficiency in the system. We need our veterans, him and her who bore the battle, to come back into service and learn how to be a part of the supply chain that the government needs to support the people. And if you do that, the thing that Mr. Hill promised is the fact that there is a $1.3 trillion wealth transfer that you get a chance to participate in. And I'm going to drop the mic on that one.
For real. I'm telling you. Now, you spoke about the evidence that America wants its veterans to be rich. And last Friday, there was a SBA scorecard methodology that came out. And it specifically talked about how veterans, disabled veterans, are the priority. And the fact that they have a special consideration. Can you talk about that special consideration? How significant is that special consideration language?
I can elaborate on that, and I will start by giving a shout out to William Bill Elmore, because William Bill Elmore, who was the first associate director of the Office of Veteran Business Programs at the SBA, right? Bill Elmore has been working since he got the service disabled veteran program in place to balance the playing field by also creating a veteran-owned contracting program, right? He feels that that was something that he left unfinished. And so for the past 2 years, Bill has been working with Congress. Congress has promised him that they would go ahead and include that provision within the National Defense Authorization Act. And in both instances, for procedural reasons, the Senate didn't pass that component. But during that run up to trying to get that bill passed, Bill was talking with our friends at the Senate, and I don't want to take too much credit, but I helped the brother out. And we were talking to the legislators and the appointed officials, and we pointed out the fact that they really did not need to pass new legislation in order to create a government-wide contracting program for veterans. We explained to the administrator that the existing authority empowers the administrator with the ability to use what's known as special consideration to create a whole of government contracting program. And so, given last year's failure of the National Defense Authorization Act, and it was a bipartisan supported effort, what I think you're seeing is the SBA utilizing their special consideration authority to create a contracting program for veteran-owned small businesses, because the early telegraph on the scorecard indicates that there is a enormously large increase in the veteran-owned business contracting goal. And given the fact that only VA has a contracting program, the only way the government could expect to meet that goal is by giving the other agencies the tools that they need to get that dollar, to get that goal achieved. So I'm suggesting and making some high octane speculation here that the proposed ruling that's about to hit the street from the SBA is going to include language that provides or creates a contracting program for veteran-owned small businesses government-wide. But let me throw a caution out here, right? Because I know that that's big news, and all the veterans that have wanted to participate in government contracting, right? You got excited about that, right? The caution that I want to share with you takes us back to the installment of Public Law 10650, because when they installed Public Law 10650, they gave us the contracting goal, right, under 10650, but they didn't give us the contracting program. They didn't give us set aside. They didn't give us sole source. So they had to go back and pass Public Law 108 183. And it was under that provision that we gave the contracting officers the stuff that they needed to get to us disabled veterans. I want you to be on alert and watch this proposed ruling that comes out of SBA in a couple of weeks, right? And make sure that they have included in that announcement the set aside capability for veteran owned small businesses, right? The authority that contracting officers need in order to be able to segregate and deliver contract awards to the veteran-owned small business community. Because if history is any predictor of the future, without that in the the Code of Federal Regulations and the Federal Acquisition Regulations, the contracting officers will not use it.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was also something that was on that scorecard methodology, was the incentives or the penalties from if they didn't utilize these mechanisms, and they had like small business prime contract and had an extra incentive. But my question is, how enforceable is that? Like, is it if they don't meet it, it's more like you should have met your goal, and then they pretty much go on about a business, or is it real consequences when they're not meeting this goal?
I don't necessarily look at it from a need to have enforcement, only because when I came up along the public law 10650 side, like when we were driving the service disabled veteran goal, there wasn't a requirement that the contracting officers award to service disabled veterans, right? Service disabled veterans didn't have a priority over the other classes, right? The contracting officers did what was in their heart, or they did what they thought was patriotic, or they just did the right thing. And so in this season, I don't think that we need leverage, right, to compel the agencies to do the work. I think that we need competent, bigger small businesses to show up at the dance, because it's my hallucination that if they do, they will be able to make a demand call against that $1.2 trillion opportunity, because they'll have first movers advantage. There are a lot of small businesses that are, looking at government contracting, and they come in contract ready, right? They've got a certification, right? I'm a service disabled veteran, own small business, but they're not contract viable, meaning they have no past performance. They can't scale. They couldn't bust a grape if you put it under their shoe. And so if you're listening to me and you're a veteran or a disabled veteran, the thing that you got to do is you got to figure out how you become contract ready and contract viable in the richest contracting season you're ever going to see. And why do we say it's the richest contracting season? Because disabled veterans are the safe harbor in a season where dismantling DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, has made 8A, it's made small disadvantaged business persona non grata. And so what the contracting community is dealing with, if you can see an example, the contracting officers have this budget that they have to spend by the end of the fiscal year that's pushing them, right? And there are fewer of them, right? Because the Doge, right, caused the number of the best contracting officers. We had a brain drain. So you got fewer, less competent, less prepared contracting officers dealing with the constitutional requirement to spend $500 billion between now and the end of September. So if you're a responsive and responsible service disabled veteran or veteran-owned small business that's scalable, get off my live. Get.
And essentially what you're saying is you can't just come in here with just your status as a just with your certification, because that's not going to get you nowhere. Like, it's positive to have, but you need that, and then you need the power behind it backing it. Means you need that scalability and the actual capabilities to do the work.
But we got to say it, like, break it down in the vernacular so that these people really understand what we're saying. They smell what we're cooking. Folks, it's the law, right? It's the law, right? The law says, right, FAR 19502 says the contracting officer must do market research. And if they identify 2 small businesses that can do the work, they shall, not may. It's the law. So you've got settled law in your favor. And if you just get your feces amalgamated, right, you become a team member with the contracting officers because he or she has this budget that they're trying to hold, and it's killing them, right? And so you walk in as a bigger small business and you take a $20 million requirement off their desk in a fashion that they may not understand because they're a new contracting officer. Son, listen, like it don't have to be difficult like this. We could utilize a simple acquisition procedure, son. You could utilize contractor teaming arrangement under a GSA schedule. I already got the team built. Boom. You partner and become a part of the solution. Son, this is a sole source opportunity, right? You're the VA. I'm a disabled veteran, right? You got Public Law 109461, right? We could take this $50 million healthcare products contract right off your hand. But you can't be reactive to this stuff, right? Now is the season for you to be getting your feces amalgamating, putting your plate of brownies together, and sitting down and having a conversation with your super friends. You know why? Because your super friends are dealing with another anomaly that's happening. You guys are hearing about in the popular media that's killing them. And that's the suspension of these 8As. This is big business here, right? When an 8A that's got a $15 million contract gets suspended, that disrupts the mission. And so, again, if you're sitting down having a conversation with this contracting officer about being a agile, bigger, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business, that they've got multiple pathways to get to, right? When that point of pain hits them in the side, they're going to think of Rituan. The D is silent. Right?
Facts. Yeah. So you mentioned about the 8A, and SBA announced that more than 620 firms from the 8A program are being terminated. And I believe it was about around 800 million in contracting, or it was 80 million in contracting. I'm not 100%. I can't recall the exact number, but it's a couple hundred million in contracts that are coming up that are essentially going to be shaken loose from the tree because of these 600 plus companies being terminated, and then and then of course the small businesses being reduced. The number of small businesses participating in the federal contracting space has been reduced to now is over 50%. It's too rich of opportunity. Too rich of opportunity.
What do you mean by that when you say it's too rich of an opportunity? Elaborate on that.
Well, the fact that service disabled veterans and veterans are
no. Let me start by asking you, it's too rich of an opportunity for who?
Okay, yes, too rich of the opportunity for the service disabled veteran and veteran-owned small business community. And every indicator has been given out. Like, I don't know what more do you need. Ray Charles.
What kind of indicators is the country giving veterans that?
Well, this SBA scorecard, that's one. Special consideration for veterans. Then you got Public Law 109461. Vets First contracting program. Got the SDVOSBs have the preference in DOD.
At this particular point, Mr. Hill, with the stuff that you've done with the Patriot report so far and the stuff that, I've left out there in the algorithm, if they don't know, they should just Google, right? Google your name, Google my name, ask the question. It's out there. At this particular point, we need to be talking to those people that are sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? Those people that see this as the opportunity that it is, that has the friend who has the MWBE contract, right? Maybe they've got the contract to provide facility support services at Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta. And that contract is, I think connected to the Department of Transportation some way, shape, or form. And that thing may come up for recompete, brothers and sisters. I will tell you that if it's a MWBE award, when it comes up for recompete, there's going to be a problem. Bless you, Mr. Hill. And therefore, this is the time for you to proactively, right, insulate your win. And that's happening across state, federal, and local government. There's a solution. Let's get at it.
Absolutely. And I also want to throw this in because Mr. Cotton has partnered with the VA, and now 60 veteran participants will be able to use their VRNE benefit. So if you're a service disabled veteran with a 10%, at least a 10% service connected disability, you have the ability to use your Veteran Readiness Employment Chapter 31 benefit and utilize the self-employment track to go and take this government contracted curriculum and be part of the first official VA cohort to get generational wealth, get access to this 1.3 trillion, and more importantly, get access to this knowledge that has produced well over 19 billion or 150 billion in other communities. So
let's unpack that a little bit, because you talk about this self-employment track often, right? Tell me a little bit about where the opportunity is in the self-employment track, because I'm a VRNE alum, right? I use VRNE to get my undergraduate in accounting with a concentration in forensic accounting. And so tell me more about this VRNE pathway that you speak of.
Yes, sir. Well, first I would say that they have you get benefits for it. So you get the BAH, you get your monthly stipend for while you in training. That's one component. That's the smallest component, if you ask me. The biggest component is the fact that you can get $49,999 approved for your business from marketing, consulting, training, and you could get approved for more. That's like the low end. You could get approved.
Okay, wait a second now. Wait, I feel like I'm in Jamaica at Dunn's River Falls, and it's falling all over me. So let me see if I can break this down again. So what I heard you say was that one of the components of the vocational rehabilitation and education program, or vocational readiness and educational program, is that they will pay you a stipend, right, above what you're getting as a part of your disability while you're going through the program. That's what I think I heard you say.
Yeah, and they got two different rates. So you have the VNRE rate and you have the GI Bill rate. And the GI Bill rate is higher than the VNRE rate, and you have the option to choose which rate you want to use.
Understood. And so that's one of
that was a gem. That was a gem. People didn't know. A lot of people don't know that.
I'm trying to show them why it's important for them to reach out to Retwan Hill if you are a VRNE interested party. Okay, and so we know now that there's a stipend that has to be paid, and then or can be paid, and then you can use that benefit to go to school and get a degree like I did, or get an advanced degree like Congressman Van Orden used it to get his law degree, right? Or you can use it for this self-employment track. And my understanding is that the self-employment track is the most underutilized track of all. Why would the self-employment track, the one that I heard you say a person could get a minimum of $50,000 and a maximum, no one's really tested the maximum to support their business, why is this self-employment track so underutilized?
It's systemic, and I think it's hard for the not contracting officer, but the counselor to have an actual individualized rehabilitation plan, because they don't have actual check marks that they could justify, or they haven't been introduced to a system that shows them end to end, like, okay, this is
But
the
can I stop you there? Can I stop you there? Because when I hear people say the root cause problem is systemic, I'm hearing them say there's no real problem, right? If you know how to work within the system, you
yeah,
can get the outcome that you're looking for.
yeah.
And so the current utilization pattern with the VRNE program, the self-employment track, is that 0.00003% of veterans go through the self-employment track. And what you're telling me is that the only reason that more don't go through that track is because, one, they may not know about it, and then two, they don't know how to navigate the systemic needs of the program. Is that accurate?
1,000%. Those are 100% facts.
Now, how do you know of this knowledge, oh great Mr. Hill?
Hey, I got the battle scars. I got the battle scars. I went through the program myself. Yes.
And so what I'm hearing you say is that through experiential learning, right, you went through the VRNE program. Were you ever assigned an academic path?
They tried to. They tried to push me down that. Yeah. I
And
actually tried 3 times to get the VNRE before I met you. 3 times of getting the self-employment track. They told me it would take an act of Congress or the president for you to get approved. That's exactly what they told me.
but in point of fact, what actually happened was your understanding the system and knowing how to satisfy the systemic needs of the system
Mm-hmm.
ultimately allowed you to move through the system and get approval.
Yes.
Correct?
1,000%. Yep.
And so what Mr. Hill has done is he has taken his experience and he has woven that into a solution that we're going to talk to you about during my first installment of the Solution Zone, which you guys will have to be on the lookout for.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And on that note, guys, have a great weekend. I'm Ratwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton III. Until next time, guys, we are out.